Citizen Romanov, you and your family must come downstairs for your safety.
July 16th, 1918. Just after midnight. A basement room in Yekaterinburg, Russia. Nicholas Romanov, the former Tsar, stands with his family, his wife, Alexandra, their 5 children. The youngest is 13. They were told they're being moved to a safer location. It's a lie. In 20 minutes, all 11 people in this room will be dead. This is the execution that ended the Romanov dynasty. But here's what no one tells you. It didn't go according to plan. The bullets didn't kill them all. The bayonets had to finish the job. Subscribe now, because this story is darker than you think. To understand how Nicholas ended up in that basement, you need to know who he was. Nicholas Romanov became Tsar of Russia in 1994. He was 26 years old. His father, Alexander III, had been a giant, physically and politically. He ruled with absolute authority. Russia feared him. Nicholas was nothing like his father. He was shy, gentle.
Father, should I? I will tell you when I need you.
He loved his family more than politics. He kept a diary where he wrote about the weather and what he had for dinner. When his father died unexpectedly, Nicholas wasn't ready. In his diary, he wrote, "I am not prepared to be Tsar. I never wanted to become one. I know nothing of the business of ruling." But he became Tsar anyway, because that's how hereditary monarchy works. And from day one, he believed one thing. His power came from God, not from the people, not from parliament, from God, which meant any attempt to limit his authority was a sin. This belief would destroy him. 1896, Nicholas's coronation celebration at Khodynka Field in Moscow. 500,000 people gathered for free food and souvenirs. The crowd surged. A stampede began. 1,400 people were crushed to death. Nicholas's advisors told him to cancel the celebrations, declare a day of mourning. He refused. That same night, he attended a ball at the French ambassador's residence, danced, smiled for photographs. The people never forgave him.
The Tsar attended a ball. In this, my sister died at Khodynka Field.
1905, Bloody Sunday. Peaceful protesters, workers, families, children marched to the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. They carried icons and portraits of Nicholas. They wanted to petition the Tsar for better working conditions. Nicholas ordered soldiers to fire on them.
The order is to disperse the crowd, by force if necessary. They're peaceful, sir. Families, the orders stand.
Hundreds died in the snow. The 1905 revolution exploded. Strikes, uprisings, mutinies. Nicholas was forced to compromise. He created the Duma, Russia's first parliament, a constitution, promised reforms, but he hated it. Over the next decade, he systematically dismantled the Duma's power, dismissed reformers, ignored their advice. He saw himself as the protector of autocracy. Any compromise was betrayal. But Russia was changing. Industrialization, urbanization, a growing middle class demanding rights. Nicholas refused to see it. Instead, he retreated into his palace, into his family, and into the influence of one man who would help destroy the dynasty, Grigory Rasputin. Subscribe if you want to see how a holy man brought down an empire, because what comes next is stranger than fiction. Grigory Rasputin was a Siberian peasant, illiterate, unwashed. He claimed to be a holy man. In 1905, he arrived at the Russian court with a reputation. He could heal the sick through prayer. Nicholas and Alexandra didn't care about his reputation. They cared about their son. Alexei Romanov was born in 1904, the heir to the throne, the boy everyone had been waiting for. But Alexei had hemophilia, a genetic bleeding disorder. Any bruise, any cut could kill him. There was no cure. The royal doctors couldn't help. They tried everything. Nothing worked. Then Rasputin arrived. Somehow, no one knows exactly how, when Rasputin prayed over Alexei, the boy's bleeding stopped. Maybe it was hypnosis. Maybe Rasputin told the doctors to stop giving Alexei aspirin, which thins the blood. Maybe it was coincidence. It didn't matter. To Alexandra, Rasputin was a miracle worker, a man sent by God to save her son. She wrote him letters. My beloved, unforgettable teacher, redeemer, and mentor, how tiresome it is without you. Rasputin became untouchable. He had access to the palace, to the Tsar, to the Empress. Nobles hated him. They saw a dirty peasant influencing the royal family. Rumors spread, affairs, drunkenness, corruption. But Nicholas wouldn't remove him because Alexandra wouldn't allow it. And Nicholas was terrified of losing his son. Rasputin began advising on political matters. Who should be appointed minister, which policies to pursue. According to records, he sent telegrams to Alexandra. The ministers are deceiving you. Trust only in God and me. Alexandra believed him, and she convinced Nicholas. During World War I, when Nicholas left to command the army, Alexandra stayed in the capital, and Rasputin stayed with her. Together, they made decisions. They fired competent ministers, appointed Rasputin's cronies, ignored warnings from generals and advisors. Russia was losing the war. Soldiers were starving. The economy was collapsing. And the Tsar's wife was taking advice from a mystic. In December 1916, a group of nobles decided Rasputin had to die. They invited him to a palace, fed him cyanide-laced cakes and wine. He didn't die. They shot him multiple times. He still didn't die. Finally, they wrapped him in a carpet and threw him into the freezing Neva River. He drowned. But killing Rasputin didn't save the dynasty, because by then, Russia was already breaking apart, and Nicholas had no idea how to stop it. Subscribe now, because what happens next is the collapse of an empire in less than 1 week.
February 1917. Russia had been fighting World War I for 3 years. Millions of soldiers were dead. The economy had collapsed. Bread lines stretched for blocks. The people were starving. On February 23rd, women in Petrograd, St. Petersburg, took to the streets demanding bread. The next day, workers joined them, then students, then soldiers. Within days, 200,000 people were protesting in the capital. Nicholas was 300 miles away at military headquarters. He sent a telegram to the Petrograd garrison, use force to suppress the disorders.
Use
But
force.
the soldiers refused. On February 27th, entire regiments mutinied. They joined the protesters instead of shooting them. The government collapsed overnight. Nicholas's ministers sent him urgent telegrams. Return to the capital immediately. The situation is critical. Nicholas didn't believe them. He thought it was just another strike, something that would blow over. He was wrong. On March 2nd, 1917, Nicholas boarded his private train to return to Petrograd. The train was stopped. Revolutionary forces controlled the railways. His generals met him in the train car. They told him the truth. The army would not fight for him. The Duma had formed a provisional government. There was no path back to power. His brother, Grand Duke Michael, was waiting in Petrograd. If Nicholas abdicated in his favor, maybe the monarchy could survive. Nicholas sat alone in his train compartment. He wrote in his diary, "All around me, I see treason, cowardice, and deceit." Then he signed the abdication document. March 2nd, 1917. After 304 years, the Romanov dynasty was over. But here's what Nicholas didn't understand. Abdication wouldn't save him, because the provisional government didn't want a former czar walking free. He was too dangerous, a symbol, a rallying point for monarchists. They arrested him. Nicholas, Alexandra, and their 5 children were taken into custody. At first, they were held at their palace. Guards watched them constantly, but they could still walk in the gardens, see visitors. Then in August 1917, they were moved to Tobolsk, Siberia, a governor's mansion, but isolated, freezing. The conditions worsened. Then in April 1918, the Bolsheviks, the radical communist faction, took full control of Russia, and they moved the family one final time to Yekaterinburg, to a merchant's house called the Ipatiev House, to the basement. What happened next took 20 minutes, and it was brutal.
July 16th, 1918, just after midnight. The Romanov family had been imprisoned in the Ipatiev house for 78 days. Nicholas, Alexandra, their daughters, Olga, 22, Tatiana, 21, Maria, 19, Anastasia, 17, their son, Alexei, 13. With them, their doctor, their cook, a maid, and a footman, 11 people total. At 12:30 a.m., Yakov Yurovsky, the head of the guards, woke them up. He said the White Army, anti-Bolshevik forces, was approaching the city. They needed to move to the basement for safety. The family believed him. They dressed quickly. Nicholas carried Alexei, who was too weak to walk. Alexandra asked for chairs. She had a bad back, and Alexei needed to sit. 2 chairs were brought into the basement room. The room was small, semi-basement, bare walls, one window painted white so no one could see in or out. The family arranged themselves. Alexandra and Alexei sat in the chairs. Nicholas stood beside them. The daughters stood behind. The servants stood to the side. They waited. Then Yakov Yurovsky, the head of the guards, returned with 11 armed men. He read from a piece of paper. "In view of the fact that your relatives continue their offensive against Soviet Russia, the Presidium has decided to shoot you." Nicholas turned around, started to say something. He never finished. Yurovsky shot him in the chest, point blank. Nicholas dropped instantly. Then the other guards opened fire. The room filled with smoke. Gunfire echoed off the walls. It was deafening, chaotic. Alexandra and Olga tried to cross themselves. The bullets killed them within seconds. But here's where it went wrong. The other daughters didn't fall. The bullets hit them, but didn't kill them, because sewn into their corsets were pounds of diamonds and jewels. The family had hidden their wealth in their clothes. The jewels acted as armor, deflecting bullets, ricocheting them around the room. The guards kept firing, but 3 of the daughters were still alive, screaming, crawling toward the walls. Yurovsky ordered the men to stop firing. The smoke was too thick. Silence. The entire execution took 20 minutes. The bodies were loaded into a truck, driven to a forest mine shaft 12 miles away. There, the guards stripped the bodies, burned them with gasoline and sulfuric acid, smashed the bones, buried the remains in an unmarked grave. They wanted to erase the Romanovs completely. No bodies, no burial site, no shrine for loyalists. It worked. For 70 years, no one knew where the family was buried. In 1991, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the grave was finally discovered. DNA testing confirmed these were the Romanovs. Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, died in a basement at age 50, shot by men who once would have bowed to him. His children died with him. The youngest was 13. 304 years of Romanov rule ended in 20 minutes. Subscribe to Shadow History because we tell the stories they tried to bury, literally. Nicholas believed his power came from God. He refused to compromise, refused to adapt, refused to see that the world had changed, and it cost him everything: his throne, his freedom, his family, his life. The past never apologized. Like, share, subscribe. I'm Arthur. Until next time.